sehen uns hoffentlich nächstes Jahr wieder. Oder vielleicht auch schon früher. Ja, danke und Glück auf. Beginnzeit für die Herren 10:30 Uhr for the first competition round. Starting time for men, first competition round 10:30. Danke nochmal an unsere Ehrengäste, die da die Preise überreicht haben.
Hello everybody and welcome once again from Eisenerz. We are back for some more live action here at the FIS Continental Cup in the Erzberg Arena, patiently awaiting the second competition for the men in course of this weekend on the HS109 ski jump. My name is Luis Holuch and once again I will be your commentator for this competition here in Austria. Earlier this morning we have had the Women's Intercontinental Cup events, which unfortunately had to be cancelled after the first round, so we only got to see one round there. Fingers crossed this will work out better for the men as the final steps of preparation are being held here. Unlike yesterday, the start list has slightly changed. In fact, we have 53 competitors remaining from 13 different nations, and that is first and foremost due to the fact that Jakob Steinberger of Austria, who actually opened yesterday's competition, received his second yellow card and therefore is not allowed to compete here in this second competition, and also in the next events, which specifically will be announced on the FIS website, so you can look for the detailed sanction there. So that means he is off the start list, but the other 53 competitors which were on the list yesterday are still remaining, and due to the tight schedule there was no trial round before, so literally the first jump the guys will perform here is going to be counting. If you have missed yesterday's competition, just a quick throwback onto that as we get to see a couple of details. It started to have a light snowfall, snow rain sort of. The hill details remain the same with K-point 98 and hill size 109 meters. So yesterday's competition won by Clemens Eigner of Austria, who is also our Continental Cup leader. Second place went to Luca Roth of Germany, ahead of Eigner's teammate Clemens Leigner, finishing third. And on rank number 4, Sølve Jokerud Strand of Norway, just 1.2 points shy of Leitner's third place as we scroll through the start lists. So it also means that 23 competitors won't be scoring points today. And also, importantly, we will have a look on how things develop when it comes to the quota spots. Important thing to be mentioning is that this competition is actually the final one of this fifth period in the Continental Cup. So after this competition today, new additional World Cup quota spots will be allocated to the 3 best nations. Currently in the lead there, Clemens Eigner for Austria, no surprise, ahead of Luca Roth and Ben Bayer, but both of them are from Germany, obviously. So the third spot will go to Sølve Jokerud Strand as things changed, and he has quite the gap towards his teammates Frederik Willemsdahl, Jørgen Oliver Strøm and Robin Pedersen, who follow on the ranks 5 to 7th. But we will provide you an update on that as soon as the results are confirmed.
wie gesagt, danke nochmal auch an die Vorgänger. Wirklich eine Aufgabe da als Unterstützung für die Jury und natürlich auch als Unterstützung für unsere Athleten und Athletinnen, damit die noch als erstes mal in die Spur gehen und man sieht, wie die Ergebnisse dann sind.
So, another four jumper before we get underway in this second competition here, the 11th in course of the winter season, at least if we count all of those that have been scheduled. As you surely noticed that world competition in Sapporo couldn't be held due to unfortunate weather conditions. And the next period will start immediately next weekend with the events in Lillehammer. The men will jump on the large hill there, which was also being used at the World Cup opening. The weekend after, we'll be going to Kranj in Slovenia. Then the traditional stop in Thuringia, not in Brotterode, as the in-run tower is not ready yet there. So the competitions have been moved to Oberhof, the normal hill there. But the organizing committee will be the same as in Brotterode. And the last stop in this sixth period will be Iron Mountain in the United States of America from 21st and 22nd of February, as we then will enter the final period, the 7th, where also the Junior World Ski Championships will be held, again in Lillehammer on the normal hill, the 2nd to 8th of March. And the remaining stops in the COC calendar in March will be Lahti on 14th and 15th of March, and then the finals in Zakopane on 21st and 22nd of March. So we have a slight delay, which is not a huge surprise considering the weather forecast and how this day did go up until now. But let's see how things develop. We will start with Johannes Pölz of Austria. The 20-year-olds yesterday on rank 39. He setting the benchmark on 87.5 meters. So let's see how the other competitors will do. As we notice, there is definitely some tailwinds on the hill pretty much the whole morning. Still, this was the jump of Julien Gay from France, 90.5 meters, giving him the lead, 3.7 points ahead of Pölz. And the wind is only set to get even stronger for the rest of the day, so we will also keep up the pace high when it comes to the start intervals, as we now see the jump of Łukaszczyk from Poland, the first athlete getting close to the K-point line from start gates number 17. 97 meters for Łukasz, just a meter shy of the K-point distance. The next athlete from the United States of America, Sawyer Graves. One of the younger athletes, but getting real nice experience here at this competition level. The 17-year-old from Steamboat Springs, Colorado. 94.5 meters, putting him into seconds. Coming up now, the first Swissman, Marius Sieber. 1 points result in the Continental Cup so far. This was in 2024 in Sapporo. He's really trying to extract everything out of this jump. 92 meters for Marius, putting him into third place. Slovenia had their success already today with Isadora Kopac winning the women's competition. Now the men are underway. The first of them, Nik Gostiša-Lah. Also decent attempt by the 20-year-old from Ljubljana with 95 meters. And because he had the lowest deduction of all athletes so far, he goes into second place. Kazakhstan with us, represented by Daniil Kalinkin. Yesterday finishing 50th, now with a jump on 86 meters in his only second Continental Cup appearance, so this is still a new level for him, but surely also a good experience to be making. Henri Repelin for France. Very interesting jumping style for the Frenchman, which brings him to 96.5 meters, the second longest jump. But the wind compensation puts him to rank number 3. But this is should be definitely good enough in order to reach the final rounds. Matija Vidic for Slovenia. Yeah, also in the mix, it's a pretty close race between the guys in front. 96 meters for Matija, but only 5th. Yeah, you can see it. Even the smallest changes within the wind calculation do make quite a big difference. Maximilian Gardner, the first competitor for Italy. Yeah, definitely a visible improvement compared to yesterday for Maximilian. 92.5 meters for the 18-year-old. Sixth position for him, who scored Continental Cup points previously in Stams. That was actually his Continental Cup debut, so this is only his second event after all. Good to see Henry Cavelo back on the hill after he had a crash yesterday. .84.5 meters, surely not enough in order to advance to the second round, but yeah, as we all know, health is most important, and it's good for him that he doesn't have to conclude this weekend with this crash yesterday. Jakub Wolny for Poland. Also struggling to make it over the 90 meters distance, and it's exactly 90 meters for Jakub. 7th place at the moment, but it might be not enough to qualify, but obviously only the remainder of this first round will show it. This is Benedikt Holub for Czechia. Also struggling to get close to the 90 meters, 87 and a half. And that puts him on 9th place. Timi Heiskanen for Finland. Yesterday scoring his first Continental Cup points with rank 28, so that's quite a milestone for him. Long wait there by the coach to send him down, but here he comes. Ooh, that was tough. That was really tough for him. Yeah, compared to the other guys before, the worst conditions of them all. And that puts him to 13th place, so both Finnish competitors currently in the bottom spots. The next jumper for Czechia, also from Frenstadt pod Radhoštěm, is Filip Krženek. Scored a couple of points in Zhangjiakou in the second competition there, after he was not permitted to start in the first one, so he also has a yellow card to his name, and you can see it in the distance to beat. It's gotten worse and worse for the athletes so far, and I am afraid that Krženek will be the first one to be leaving the bar. And this 28th place in Zhangjiakou, the first COC points for Philipp as well. He competed before in Engelberg and then also yesterday, so his tally only being 4 starts in this category for now, so also still in a development phase. And later we should also see Daniel Skarka, his teammate who was not on the start yesterday, so hopefully he will be with us in this competition. Yeah, this waiting game was quite a common theme earlier this morning. We had a couple of athletes in the women's competition already being forced to sit on the sidelines and wait if the wind is coming back to the corridor, and then also very delayed start attempt into the second round. Then we saw a couple of athletes jumping there, but then the conditions didn't really calm down, and also the starting time of the men's competition was a factor, so yeah, even though the second round was started, it had to be cancelled, and the first round counted as official result, as there seems to be a gate change. At least the start volunteers are working on that. So gate number 19 it is. Yesterday we had a gate change of 1, today it's already 2, so that already tells you it's definitely trickier than yesterday. So a bit more speed in order to compensate for the tailwind which has occurred. Well, that also means each and every athlete that gets to start now will start with minus points, as a longer in-run length is basically an advantage.
Ausgleich. Schauen wir mal, wie es funktioniert.
Good thing also for the jury, they can set up a new wind corridor, which hopefully makes it a bit easier to start and manage the competition. But also, obviously, it's an indicator for the athletes that the wind conditions are probably not getting better, at least. But Filip Krzyżanek will now make his way down the largest Erzbergschanze. Yeah, pretty solid attempt, even though the landing was a bit rough for him. 92.5 meters. To be fair, looked slightly longer than it actually was, so that puts him into 10th position. And here comes Martin Hamann, the first German, scored his first Continental Cup points of the season yesterday in his first appearance in this category this winter. There we go. So for him, the in-run length change definitely paid off. Also very decent speed, 95 meters. And that actually puts him into the lead. 0.2 points ahead of Łukasz. We are awaiting the first jump over the K-point. Maybe Francisco Merz will help us out. Like Hamann also having registered a couple of World Cup appearances, even the man from Bad Mitterndorf, the place we will be going to right after the Olympic Games for the first World Cup in ski flying this season. And Francisco scoring a distance of 93.5 meters. Tight score with Nick Gostišala, both ranked third at the moment. Here comes the next Slovenian athlete, Jernej Presečnik. Yesterday on 20th place, before he was competing in the FIS Cup in Klingenthal. And it's kind of ironic that the wind has changed to headwind at the moment, so the conditions are literally too good for him, even though he surely would love to jump. Getting a nice pressure under his skis, but he is forced to leave the bar. But at least the mood seems to be still up high there. And also the patience, which surely is required today. Also still available, but there's going to be another gate change. Back again to gate number 17. So even though the competition is still quite young, we can already conclude that you also need to have a bit of luck. But now as the gate has been changed, also the wind conditions did so. Being displayed in the distance to beat in the top right hand corner. Not particularly a good sign that it has gone below the 90 meters distance. It rather should be around 93 meters or something in order to continue with the competition.
Schräg auf der Anlaufposition oder so, der ging immer links oder eigentlich rechts beim Schanzentisch drüber. Das war die Kunst in der Mitte durchzufahren.
So now even another bar is being brought there. Not too sure why, to be honest, but let's see if Jarnej Przecznik will be allowed to go down. At least the distance to beat looks somewhat fine again. But there is the green light, so fingers crossed for Jarnej's jump. Yeah, fairly decent attempts. 93.5 meters, probably not enough to go on top of the results list, as he also gets fair deduction in minus points, but rank number 6 at the moment. Sindre Ulven Jørgensen, the first Norwegian member of the Asker Ski Club. So the same ski club as previously Tom Hilde or currently Halvor Egnar Granerud. So quite the role models he has inside his home club, the tall Norwegian. Yesterday on career, the first one being in Engelberg in December 2023, and just a couple of days later in Garmisch-Partenkirchen, a second place. As he is now forced to leave the bar. So now we know why they put another gate there, or another bar rather, so that the gate changes can be made a bit quicker. So Sindre has to literally step around the lower bar in order to reach the next.
Gelb.
So, second try for the man who turned 24 just a couple of weeks
Kommen.
ago.
Da ist es auch schon. Jetzt hat er noch 10 Sekunden Zeit. Zum Start.
And the second try, hopefully, is his lucky one. Yeah, this is not really his preferred type of ski jumping hill. That's not really a secret. 86.5 meters. He definitely enjoys
6.5 meters.
the bigger ones more. Surely looking forward to his home Continental Cup
Der nächste Starter.
next weekend in Lillehammer. 86.5 meters, rake 15.
20. Startnummer 20.
Tuomas Kinnunen for Finland.
Schau mal, ob er
Yesterday scoring his first Continental Cup points actually with a 16th position. So that was a great success for Tuomas. The 20-year-old from Lahti.
Ich würde einfach jetzt 18 setzen und dann durch.
Er sieht nicht gut aus in den Fingern. Auch er muss nochmal vom Falten.
Ja, nein,
Ah, der-
eben, ich möchte nicht Christian
The amount of headwinds
Chief of Command.
that has been there in his starting phase was a bit too high, so he has to get out there. He's actually going to be the
Der Anlauf.
last remaining competitor for Finland at the moment. His two teammates, as you can see on the left-hand side, currently in the bottom of the result list.
Die gelbe Ampel läuft und
So, hopefully
auf grün.
he
Das heißt,
will do
los für den Finish.
better than his colleagues. In fact, he does. That's quite a decent jump for the level we have seen so far. 95 meters for Tuomas.
95 meters.
But as he was jumping from gate number 19, already starting with minus points, as you can see, and half a point also deduction for the wind conditions. So that is P6 at the moment for him. Tarek van Wieren for Canada.
Van Wieren. Mit der Startnummer 21. Seine Weite 86
86 meters for Tarek.
Van Wieren. Kanada.
So probably he will stay at 2-point scoring results in the Continental Cup this season.
So, Milesi.
A duo of Frenchmen coming up right now. The first one of them being Enzo Milesi.
Ja, guter
Very nice jump for Enzo
Franzosen.
with 97 meters. And thanks to the plus points he gets for the wind compensation, he goes into third place.
7 meters Enzo Milesi aus.
And up next is Alessandro Batbier,
23.
the Courchevel local. Yesterday missed out on the points, so fingers crossed it will go better for him today. I'm afraid it doesn't, so that might be
Für den Swinger aus Frankreich.
the only competition jump we will get to see
Meters Alessandro
from him today.
aus. From Italy, with speed number 24 aus Italien, Startnummer 24. Francesco.
Let's see how it goes for Francesco Ciccon. The second and also last Italian we will see in this first round. Maximilian Gardner, his teammate, currently on rank 11.
Genau, das auch gestern schon Bitte Strecke gezeigt, schau mal, wie geht's ihm heute im ersten Wertungsdurchgang?
And they are pretty even when it comes to the distance. Gardner jumped 92.5, Chicon with 90.5, but much worse wind conditions. So he is currently 6th, as Enzo Milesi is the first athlete that advances into the final rounds. Up next is Maxim Bartol, the 22-year-old from Ljubljana. 2 Continental Cup podiums in his career. 2024 in Innsbruck and Lillehammer, actually. So he will also be looking forward to next weekend, as our 4 jumpers enjoy a little snack. The wind has picked up a totally different image than Francesco Ciccone faced before. The same amount of tailwind he had comes from the opposite side at the moment, so Maxim Bartol not allowed to start right now.
Ja, wie gesagt, wieder kurze Unterbrechung aufgrund der Windsituation.
Maxim actually being the third of, in total, 4 jumpers from SSK Illyria, this ski club in Ljubljana, pretty much downtown, you could say. So if you ever go to the Slovenian capital, you should definitely pay a visit to their lovely, cozy ski jumping center they have in Mostec, right in the middle of a park. So it's a really nice walk to there, and also a really nice place to spend some time at, and obviously also starting your career as a ski jumper. Especially the women's sides, represented by double Olympic champion Urša Bogataj, now Križnar, and the first Slovenian World Cup winner Špila Rogel. Pretty successful. But also Lauro Kos obviously also left his mark in ski jumping history. And this is the 4th athlete from Illyria we will get to watch in hopefully only a couple of minutes. Fingers crossed now that we will get to see the 3rd jumper from Illyria, Maxim Bartol. Even though obviously we hope for long jumps, it's not necessarily a good sign that the distance to beat has climbed over 100 meters at this stage of the competition, as we haven't seen a single jump over the K point of 98 meters up until now. So it rather should be down at 97 meters or something, not over 100 at least. So, also this second attempt didn't quite work out for him, unfortunately. And maybe one of the guys that took a snack before might be required to act as a 4 jumper. We will see about that. At least there's no time pressure when it comes to finish at least this first round, with no competition following up later, as we probably go back to gate number 17. as things look. So Bartol has to step over the bar, which he successfully does.
Und wir gehen auf Startgate 17. Also wie gesagt, das Slowenien Maxim Bartol startet von Start.
So back to where we actually started, but now, as we can see, the tailwind has picked up, so it's always as soon as we change the gate, also the wind is deciding to change. But Bartol gets to do his jump. Quite a tricky one, but he made the best out of it. 90 meters, but his style points aren't too good, unfortunately. So he will be placed 12th at the moment, and that means Martin Hamann advances into the final round. Stefan Reiner, the 26-year-old from Schwarzach in Pongau, same home ski club as Stefan Kraft. And he's done a pretty good job, I would say, also getting decent style points for his jump on 95.5 meters. And because he gets less minus points than Enzo Milesi, who was leading at that point, he is taking over the lead. Daniel Skarka, just like yesterday, not on the start. Unfortunately, I can't provide you an info why that is. So we move over to Bryce Klotz.
Startnummer 27 nicht am Start, daher geht es weiter mit der Startnummer 28. Next pit 28 from the United States of America, Bryce Klotz.
Yesterday on rank 43, the 20-year-old scored his first Continental Cup points actually in Sapporo in January 2025, so on this very day 1 year ago exactly, on 25th of January. This season 23rd in Sapporo again, and 22nd in Shangjaku, which is also his best Continental Cup result ever. So made visible progress already starting in the summer, where he was on 20th and 13th place at the FIS Cup in Villach, obviously on a much smaller normal hill than this one. So the next try now for Bryce, but at least the distance to beat looks more promising than before. Yeah, and it doesn't look too bad considering the conditions. So let's see what he can make out of them. Oh, very good jump for Bryce Klotz. 95.5 meters. Yeah, but because the deduction for the wind is pretty high, this brings him into 10th position as Philipp Aschenwald is already in the in-run track. And he continues where he began yesterday. 100.5 meters, the longest jump of the competition and even the first one above the K-point line. So Aschenwald really continues to impress on his comeback.
100.5 meters, Philipp Aschenwald.
Huge compliments to him as we continue the competition with Yannick Feist. Aiming to make it 2 Germans out of 2 advancing into the final round. Martin Hamann currently on 4th position and Yannick Feist with his jump on 94 meters, putting himself into 2nd position. So, a good intermediate result for Team Germany, which also has been struggling throughout all of the competition categories throughout the winter. And the next German waiting for his start, Adrian Tittel. Yesterday scoring literally a couple of points with rank number 29. Also definitely on the taller end when it comes to body height. Currently the wind has picked up on the right side if you're a ski jumper, but on the wrong side if you are the jury. So also Adrian forced to wait even longer for his start. Yeah, last season competed quite long in the World Cup actually, thanks to the additional quota he scored by winning a medal at the World Junior Championships 2 years ago in Planica. Also managed to score a couple of points there, but the longer the season went, the tougher it was for him. And yeah, with him aging and not being able to jump in the juniors category anymore, he also lost that quota spot and now aims to fight for a comeback through the Continental Cup. But currently the tailwind really has picked up. It's not looking good at all. And now you can even hear it on the out-the-door microphones, and it's exactly happening what the weather forecast has predicted earlier. Some gusts, even up to 30 kilometers and more, being the reason why we started the competition even earlier than originally scheduled. Because then we would have started at 12:30, and it's not very likely that ski jumping is even remotely possible at that time of the day. If we stick to the original schedule, we wouldn't even have started the trial round yet, which was scheduled for 11:30. So the jury definitely made the right decision to try to have these competitions as early as possible. However, it's totally unsure whether this one is going to be finishing at all if we look on the forecast. And the longer the day lasts, the more likely it also is that we will get some snowfall, and that also won't make things even easier, obviously.
bis Wetter kann man nichts. Es könnte auch noch schlimmer sein. Es könnte auch zum Regnen anfangen. Wie gesagt,
So for jumper, we received the command to prepare for a possible jump, which is obviously necessary after the break we've had already. Yeah, and as we can notice in the distance to beat, which is obviously only a theoretical factor at the moment, the wind direction has completely changed. We had a distance to beat of 70.5 meters. Now we are at 110.5, so that explains everything about how changeable these conditions are at the moment. And like I said, it's only supposed to get worse from here on.
momentan auf Platz 1 Philipp Aschenwald, gefolgt von Janik Feist, dem Deutschen, auf 3 Stefan Reiner, Österreich, 4 Enzo Videsi, Frankreich, 5 Martin Hamann, Deutschland, 6 Lukas Schick, aus Polen, 7 Frankie Mörk, Equo mit dem Slowenen Nick Kosisala. Und das sind auch die 8 Athleten, die bis jetzt qualifiziert sind. Aber es geht jetzt weiter. Wir sehen einen Vorspringer.
The best indicator for the wind conditions for us, from this angle at least, are the trees in the background, and you can see how much they are moving. It's basically the same image we got to see in the minutes where the women's competition got cancelled, so this is not giving us much hope, to be very honest with you, that this competition will continue, not to speak about continue smoothly. Yeah, and I can also hear the gusts over my commentary headset. At the moment, the first 8 athletes would be qualified for the second round, with Francisco Mert and Nick Gostisha-Lach being tied on points on 7th position at the moment.
Kurze Info auch an unsere Trainer. We have a 10-minute break.
Okay, so that's a good information. I don't know if you can hear the stadium announcer properly, but he announced that there will be a 10 minutes break for now.
Also, kurze 10 Minuten Unterbrechung, 10-minute break. And after we will see.
And then the jury will probably make a further decision on how to proceed with the competition. But the good thing for the athletes, obviously, is they can leave the start area, maybe even have the chance to warm up a bit, but first and foremost get in a more comfortable position than being tight in their equipment.
Und heißen Getränken, kleinen Snacks und Menschspeisen. Wärmt sich ein bisschen auf und dann schauen wir, wie es in 10 Minuten weitergeht.
Yeah. As mentioned by the stadium announcer, we will see how things are going to proceed after this scheduled break. There will be the next jury decision until on 11:25, so we will also provide you with an update on that as soon as it happens.
in wenigen Minuten starten wir mit unserem Vorspringer wieder. Also das heißt, es geht weiter mit dem ersten Wertungsdurchgang.
So the information for now is that
Aber wir können
they will try to continue with the 4 jumpers, so there is still some hope to continue with the competition. However, the conditions didn't really seem to have improved by much as things currently stand.
Aber diese Option gibt es, glaube ich, nicht.
Wir haben, glaube ich, insgesamt 53 Starter.
Ja, komm, diese 32, 33.
Also gut, die Hälfte ist schon herum.
23.
Werden wir auch noch durchbringen. Wenn halt wieder die eine oder andere aufnehmen müssen. Aber das haben die Jungs verdient.
But there is some visible progress. At least the trial jumper gets to go down the hill.
Ein Skispringer bei uns im nordischen Ausbildungszentrum, der da jetzt gerade als Vorstrecker über die Schanze gegangen ist. Ich sag's immer wieder, der Pauli, einzig mir bekannte burgenländische.
What looks like another 4 jumper will be sent before Adrian Tittel would be the next jumper to continue with the competition.
Ja, komm. Aber ist schon, ja. Ja, sie sollen sich alle aufstellen auf dem Balken und dann jeder einfach Evox muss einfach schneller sein.
But the wind speeds are picking up. We can also hear it on the outdoor microphones. So the weather isn't making it easy for us to stay optimistic that we can continue with the competition, unfortunately. It's already lasting for pretty much an hour and we have seen 30 athletes until now. Actually only 29 as Daniel Skarka didn't appear at the start. So next 4 jumper, next attempt to sort of restart to this competition. But just like his previous colleague, he actually gets the chance to jump. So let's see how he behaves in the air. Fairly stable, but surely not really that enjoyable to jump. Obviously, the jury will now also be keen on keeping a fast rhythm when it comes to the start intervals, if it's actually possible to get this competition underway. The distance to beat is back now, but you can see especially the headwind has increased by a lot. with Philipp Aschenwald currently being the leader with his jump on 100.5 meters. Actually a fair gap to Yannick Feist, but his teammate Adrian Tittel now gets to start in seemingly good conditions. He's not quite able to use that. A lot shorter than he would have needed in order to be in top position. In fact, it's only rank number 19. So that means no top 30 result for him today. Lukas Hagen, one of the really positive appearances yesterday with his 7th place. And he's quite able to continue just like that. For sure, the second longest jump in this competition, at least with 98.5 meters. So make that a double Austrian lead. Aschenwald ahead of Hagen. So, and speaking of positive appearances from yesterday, the next guy is also on that list, Adrian Thon Gundersrud, with his 6th place yesterday. Quite an impressive performance. One of these many jumpers belonging to the Colin Hopp training group localized in Norway's capital, Oslo. Ah, that's a really nice attempt by Adrian. He surely knew how to handle these wind conditions and make the most out of him. 102.5 meters, but in fact it's only good enough for 2nd position, because he gets almost 3 times as many wind points as Philipp Aschenwald, who maintains the lead for now. And here comes a duo of Swiss athletes, Yuri Krisseli being the first of them, also over the K-point line. So yeah, now it's quite a decent phase in order to jump with 99.5 meters. The 3rd longest jump, putting him into 3rd position, only 0.1 points ahead of Lukas Hagen. And his teammates, Remo Imhoff, already in the air. Oh, there he squeezed out quite much from that jump. 96.5. It's getting already pretty tight there. 8th place for Remo, also advancing into the top 30. Jarosław Czak for Poland. Not quite able to keep up with the guys that jumped previous to him. 94.5 meters for Jarosław, the 25-year-old, 16th place at the moment. So that brings Francesco Ciccon into the top 30. And here comes Loro Kos. I've mentioned him previously. Ooh, that's a short attempt by the 2-time team world champion. 89.5 meters only for him. Yeah, only good enough for 20 seconds. That was sadly a weekend to forget for him after he landed on 35th place yesterday. Here comes Adam Nizhnik. Surely we'll be happy that he was able to start his jump in his first attempt, unlike yesterday. 92.5 meters for Adam. His ranking at the moment 19th place. So Tuomas Kinnunen in the top 30. Moving on with Konstantin Schmid. Apart from Adrian Tittel, his German teammates so far did pretty well. But Konstantin not on the same form as Yannick Feist and Martin Hamann ahead of him. Currently ranked 30, so that won't be any points for him today. Raphael Zimmermann for Austria. Yesterday missed out on the points with a 34th place. I'm afraid it will be in the same area on the result list with 91.5 meters for him today.
1.5 meters, Raphael Zimmermann, Austria.
But now he gets plus point even for the wind calculation, so my bad. Didn't place for him. I wasn't expecting that, to be very honest with you. As he has had the worst conditions in quite a while. Next athlete already waiting for his start, Gorazd Završnik. Teammate of Jany Przecznik from Ljubno. And as soon as the clock got closer to the 60-second mark, the wind came back into the corridor, but it's very, very tricky for Gorazd. 92 meters, and with that slight deduction he has received, he is currently not within the top 30, but Bryce Klotz is now. Hannes Landerer for Austria. The man who already scored a podium here in Eisenerz, but that was in the FIS Cup in the past season. But it's an indicator that he generally likes this ski jump here. 97.5 meters for Hannes, putting him on rank number 9. And we continue with an Austrian, Julian Smeets, winner of the FIS Cup in Hinterzalten this summer, and also a participant in the Austrian national group at the Four Hills tournament, where he finished 51st and 52nd in the qualifications in Bischofshofen at Innsbruck. Quite unlucky, not a lot missing for him to reaching the knockouts competition there. Now the headwind has picked up. The distance to beat getting closer and closer to the hillside actually. Not a good sign, and so he has to leave the bar. Yeah, Julian being a club member of the SV Achomitz, this legendary small club in Carinthia, actually. Which had a fairy tale season thanks to Daniel Czofenik last winter, with him winning the overall World Cup and obviously also the Four Hills tournament. So despite that place being a really small village, they have brought up really strong ski jumpers already in the past as well. They're having a cozy training center where you mostly can use the hills during the winter due to a lack of plastic matchings on there, but Like I said, this didn't really quite stop them from developing very strong jumpers, past and present.
Ob man den Schmiedi das bald runtergeht, aber man spürt, ich glaube, dass der Wind wieder ein bisschen aufbricht.
But you can see it in the movement of the trees in the background. I hate to repeat myself, but it's not looking too good. And it's not even the peak of the difficulties when it comes to the wind conditions. The worst are actually predicted for sometime around 4 p.m. in the afternoon. So there's a bit of confusion at the moment. I don't know why, but surely not Julian's fault. As also this camera seems to be suffering from the strong wind gusts. Those are actually the main problem. The general wind speed is not as high, but these gusts are really, really tricky to handle.
Wir haben den weitesten Sprung bis jetzt gesehen vom Norweger Hundersrot mit 102,5 Meter und der Julian Smith müsste jetzt fast 107 Meter springen, um die Führung zu übernehmen. Also da ist, glaube ich, ganz verständlich, dass man da zuwartet, bis der...
So once again we are enjoying the view on this ski jumping facility here in the Erzberg Arena. There used to be literally natural ski jumps here before, but they haven't been up to standards anymore. Literally 10 years ago, the construction works for this new facility were started, and then the arena was reopened, so to say, with national championships in Austria, and at the same time the other existing facility in Eisenerz, because there used to be a second one in Tull, actually, which is close to the town center of Eisenerz. They have been closed. Another trial jumper there getting ready for a start. Unfortunately, we do not have a list of names, so can't you provide who that actually is, but obviously each and every host is happy to have them.
Sind ja noch 10. Oder 11. Wenn einmal ein Loch drin ist, dann kriegst du
1 hour and 15 minutes have passed until the competition has started. We have seen 41 jumps so far, with Philipp Aschenwald still in the lead with 100.5 meters ahead of Adrian Thon Gündesrud with 102.5 meters. And apart from these two, also Juri Krisseli with 99.5 and Lukas Hagen with 98.5 meters have managed to soar past the K-point distance of 98 meters.
Wettkampfdurchgang noch über die Bühne bringen. Daher warten wir wieder zu.
Currently it's again the headwind which is the issue, with the distance to beat climbing up to 112.5 meters, which is also the hill record distance set by Markus Rupic in an Austrian Cup in 2017. Florian Altenburger jumped even longer on 114 meters, but wasn't able to land that jump. So you can jump definitely over 100 at 10 meters on this hill, but currently those distances are definitely way too much for what the jury has opted as a corridor.
Wir haben eine neue Juryentscheidung. Die Jury geht auf Startgate 16.
So one way the jury wants to try to circumvent that is moving the gate to number 16, so even one lower than the lowest one we have had in the course of the day. And also even yesterday we were jumping from 19 and 20 because the main wind direction was tailwind. And the reaction of this four jumper actually said it all. Suddenly he was given the green light and he was just saying, okay, if you say so, but not so sure if he enjoyed that jump too much, as also the snowfall, which has been forecasted, has picked up at the moment. But just as with the last longer break we've had, Julian Smith is now able to start his jump. Doing pretty solid after this much of a waiting game, 95.5 meters. Putting him into 12th position, also thanks to the plus points he gets from the gate compensation. Niklas Bachlinger aiming to do better than yesterday, which he in fact does with this jump. After P25 yesterday, that's not where he sees himself in this category level. 11th place at the moment for him. Clemens Joniak, the 20-year-old, yesterday finishing 8th, which has been a really good result for him. Not quite on the same level as yesterday with this jump on 97 meters. 27. Oh, that's not even going to be enough for points today. Ah. What a shame for him. Next up is Jürgen Oliver Ström. Aha, there we go. The 5th athlete jumping over the K-point line. 99.5 meters for the Norwegian, giving him 5th place. Here comes Ben Bayer. 2 times he stood on the Continental Cup podium this season already in Zhangjiakou and also in Sapporo. Currently 3rd in the ranking of this 5th COC period. I also probably wasn't sure what to expect out there, setting a distance of 97 meters. 7th place, only 0.2 points behind his teammate Yannick Feist, who remains as the best German for now. Well, let's see what the home heroes are capable of doing. Clemens Leitner yesterday on 3rd place. Not quite on the same level as yesterday. 95.5 meters. Yeah, this is the reality in the Continental Cup. Small changes do make a big impact, and so it is rank number 9 for him. Fredrik Willemstad. His teammate Adrian Thon Gundersrud still on 2nd place. Almost 2.5 meters behind Aschenwald if you convert the points into a distance. And shortly before the clock was ticking to 60 seconds, he gets to start. Yeah, that was really a really tough situation for him. 91.5 meters only for Fredrik. 20th position. And we saw him warming up earlier on top of the hill. Now comes Luca Roth of Germany. Oh, that's quite a setback for him when it comes to the fights for the additional World Cup quota. 90.5 meters only for Luca. Yes, he will be among the top 30, but he's losing a fair chunk of points compared to Ben Bayer, who's directly behind him. And now is also the question, what will the 2 remaining Norwegians will do that are right behind him. First one of them being Robin Pedersen. Pretty much even, so that's already good news for Luca Roth. 92.5 meters for Petersen, but with much better conditions in average. So Petersen will not be ahead of him. In fact, he's actually behind him. Now Sylve Jokerud Strand. This weekend actually being coached by his brother Knut and assistant coach Daniel André Tande. That's surely not a name you need to introduce to true skate jumping fans. So let's see how Sylve is doing. Very flat overall, but still slightly better than his teammate previously. 95 meters. And so he is on rank number 15, so exactly 10 positions ahead of Luca Roth. Clemens Eigner finishing off this first competition round here. Our Continental Cup leader, aiming for a record actually. Yesterday he scored his 31st Continental Cup victory, putting him equally with Manuel Fettner, who was the record holder in the Continental Cup previously. Now Eigner is on ninth place with 98 meters, but you can see it only 11.1 points behind Philipp Aschenwald, who is registered as the leader after this first round. So Eigner still in the top 10, securing his quota spots even further. And we also already received a starting time for the final round at 12:20. So let's see how that pans out. This is the intermediate result, with Philipp Aschenwald being the leader with 100.5 meters ahead of Adrian Thon Gündersrud, providing the longest jump with 102.5. Third place, Juri Krisseli with 99.5 meters. Only 0.1 points ahead of Lukas Hagen on rank 4. Jürgen Oliver Ström 5th, ahead of the two Germans Yannick Feist and Ben Bayer. And Stefan Reiner, Clemens Eigner and Clemens Leitner closing the top 10. Enzo Milesi, best Frenchman, on 11th place. Also the Polish team has brought Łukasz into the top 20, currently on 19th place ahead of the best Slovenian Nik Gostiša-Lah. And with Francesco Cecon, Thomas Kinnunen and Bryce Klotz, we also have representatives from Italy, Finland and the United States within the top 30. So the jury has decided to give it quite a long break until 12:20, so we will be back just a couple of minutes before the start of that one.
geplante Zielzeit für Finale. Wertungsdurchgang 12:20. Starting time for the final competition round 12:20. Die 30 Athleten haben sich qualifiziert. Wir starten wieder in gestürzter Reihenfolge. Also der Führende noch im ersten Durchgang kommt zum Schluss. Und das ist für uns Österreicher natürlich sehr erfreulich. Philipp Aschenwald. Burschen sind gut platziert, noch Clemens Leitner, Clemens Eigner, Stefan Reiner und der Hagen Luki auf Rang 4. Also er noch mit Chancen aufs Podest.
Welcome back everybody, just a couple of minutes ahead of the start into the final round here at the FIS Continental Cup competition in ski jumping in Eisenerz, Austria. It's been a fairly tricky first round and also took quite long, to be honest, but still the organizers and also the jury hopes to have a second competition round starting at 12:20, as you can see on the screen, with the best 30 athletes from round number 1 and a pretty sensational leader, we can say, with Philipp Aschenwald currently on top of the result list with his jump on 100.5 meters ahead of the Norwegian Adrian Thon Gundesrud with 102.5 meters, which was also the longest jump in this competition so far. Obviously, as much as in the first round, we also keep our eye on the wind monitor in this second round, or let's say on the wind conditions. But keep your fingers crossed that this second round will actually happen. Other than that, compared to yesterday's results, things have been mixed up quite a bit. With a couple of athletes scoring a top 30 result unlike yesterday. But you can see the snow rain has also increased in intensity. So far, we can say that the weather forecast actually has been very, very accurate. Things that were predicted are happening pretty much on time. Athletes are making their way to the start with this elevator you can see on the left hand side. And as announced by the stadium speaker, there is 4 jumper sets to give it a try as we scroll through the starting list of this final rounds. A couple of well-known names in this first group, especially Robin Pedersen, Luca Roth and Fredrik Willemstad, are all more or less involved in the fight for the additional World Cup quota, as well as Sølve Jokerud Strand in the second page. And obviously also Clemens Leitner and especially Clemens Eigner, currently sitting in 10th and 9th position. Yeah, the rain cape worn by the start operator on the right hand side is definitely a good tool to be using now. And this makes the competition even more challenging than it has been anyway. Also, gotta keep an eye on the N1 track if it goes as smoothly as it uses to be. But that's also something that is being checked by the 4 jumpers. If they raise any concern or issue, these things will surely also be monitored, as we see another trial jumper going down the hill. And also the sound of the snow has changed thanks to the snowy rain. So all athletes also need to be focused when it comes to the landing and also to the skiing afterwards. Literally full focus will be required in this second round. We are waiting for the first athlete, which will be Jerne Presečnik. yesterday finished 20th.
Der Skispringer hier bei uns ist Eisenerz. Und wir sehen den
Still a position he could reach, especially starting with such a jump, 93.5 meters, the same distance as in the previous round. In fact, all the athletes that qualified for the second round are within 19.8 points, so less than 10 meters. So this promises us a very interesting finale of this Continental Cup weekend here in Eisenerz, as we will now witness the jump of Robin Petersen. Not quite the jump he needed, so we can probably already rule him out when it comes to securing the additional quota for Norway, actually. So that job remains to Sølve Jokerud Strand mainly. But we're happy to note what Bryce Klotz has achieved today. 5 Continental Cup points results for him in his career so far, and he's set to add a 6th to that tally. At the moment, the tailwind has picked up. That's why the distance to beat on the top right-hand corner is so low, and definitely too low in order to let him start. So 3 jumpers into this second round. We already know it's the first one that has to leave the bar. Klotz actually one of 2 US Americans that were part of this Continental Cup here. His teammate Sawyer Graves didn't make it into the second round. He was 33rd after the first one. But actually only 1.1 points behind Brezečnik, so that is also some promising progress for him, as the tailwind gets even worse. Oh boy, if you look at that. And also now, besides the trees, obviously the rain cape of the starting operator is a good indicator of how things are looking at the moment. Not only the speed is the issue at the moment, but also the fact that it's changing pretty quickly. So once you press the green light, it might change in the period the athlete is actually in the in-run. And therefore Klotz forced to leave the bar again. Also the 4 jumper we can see on the left hand side with this yellow bib preparing for good measure. You never know when you might be needed, probably sooner than later. Yeah, we would need about 20 meters more than the distance to beat is currently indicating, so that's looking far from ideal. And also the pre-start control has been interrupted for now. And Klotz is allowed to get out of his bindings at least. So let's see if the four jumper actually gets the chance to perform a jump. Usually that worked quite well, at least in the first round. Every time we were able to send down a four jumper, shortly afterwards the competition could continue, but obviously that's also quite a bit of luck required for that. Red light counting down. Now starts the yellow. Even though obviously these guys are not part of the actual competition, the distance to beat is still a good indicator. Because obviously the corridor remains the same for them. But if the countdown is even not going to the 60 seconds, you know, it's not looking really good. And especially the gusts can be heard over the microphones that have been set up. These actually can come on top to the fact that it's changeable and generally too strong, but also the gusts are really noticeable, and they are in fact the factor that make things dangerous. Yeah, it's quite a challenging competition, this one here. Especially on the mental side is uncertainty how things will proceed, if they will actually proceed and progress. Especially when you know beforehand that it's going to be tricky, because that was obviously the main factor why the competitions have been rescheduled. Normally, we would have just started with the competition just 2 minutes ago on 12:30. And in fact, we already had one competition earlier for the women that had to be finished after just one round. So that's the good thing for the jury. At least we would have a result which can be counted as official as of now.
Wieso, dass wir weitermachen. Evox muss noch den Scheibenwischer ausprobieren.
And in the meantime, I can already tell you that we will also be broadcasting the upcoming Intercontinental Cup weekend in Lillehammer. Actually, the women will jump on the normal hill there, starting their competition on Saturday at 10:30 and on Sunday at 13:30, while the men will jump the large hill Saturday starting at 15:30 and on Sunday at 10:30, so you can already put those information into your personal calendar and make sure you will also follow that. Yeah, so width changes have picked up, the wind speeds have picked up, the wind gusts did, and also the rainfall has increased. Probably even on a regular training day, you would have to consider if it's actually a good idea to jump. I admire the patience of the four-jumper, which has been in his bindings throughout the last couple of minutes. That's not a really nice position to be in. And now we have a jury decision. So, we can confirm that the final round, just like with the women's competition, has been cancelled. There will be no second competition jump today, so that means we have a confirmed final result. Our second winner of this weekend is actually Philipp Aschenwald with his jump on 100.5 meters and 113.7 points. It's a fairy tale comeback for the Austrian. Almost 3 years after his last ski jump and even 36 months after his last competitions. Aschenwald on top of the podium here in Eisenerz. So that's his 12th Continental Cup victory, bringing him up with Clemens Muranka, who also has won 12 Continental Cups in his career. Second place goes to Adrian Thon Gundersrud for Norway. And the third place is taken by Yuri Kresseli from Switzerland. For Gundersrud, the second time he is on the COC podium after a second place in Bischofshofen. So well done to him, as well as to Kresseli, who has never jumped on the COC podium actually. His best COC result so far, an 11th place yesterday here in Eisenerz. And now he makes it to P3 ahead of Lukas Hagen of Austria, Jürgen Oliver Ström on 5th, ahead of the two Germans Yannick Feist and Ben Bayer on place 6 and 7, with Stefan Reiner, Clemens Eigner and Clemens Leitner, the three Austrians, completing the top 10. And that also means things remain as they stand when it comes to the calculation of the additional World Cup quota. Clemens Eigner will claim the spot for Austria, Luca Roth will do so for Germany, and Sölve Jokerud Strand for Norway. Strand today finishing on rank 16. Was jumping in the phase that has been quite difficult to be in, but nevertheless it's been a happy ending for him. Also a fairly decent result for Enzo Milesi on rank 11. As well as for Łukaszczyk from Poland, scoring his first COC points of the season. Same goes for Milesi's teammate Ari Rappelin on rank 24. So that was that. An interesting weekend here in Eisenerz with 2 competitions on this Sunday being cut short thanks to the unstable weather conditions. Just to 1 round. But luckily we conclude everything went okay considering the circumstances. And it surely brought us quite a few interesting stories to talk about. And surely also to remember, especially that victory today by Philipp Aschenwald. Really something that will change into, that will stay in our minds for quite a long time, and especially for him. A reward after a very, very difficult period of time for him. And we're curious to see if he will be able to continue just like that in the next couple of competitions. As I've mentioned, the COC live stream will be back next weekend from Lillehammer. So different venue, totally different hill or hills, rather to be said, because the women will jump on the normal hill, as I've mentioned. And yeah, we will be very happy to welcome you once again on our live stream, and would like to thank you for tuning in this weekend. Obviously, there's still 1 highlight coming up in course of the day with the team ski flying at the World Championships in Oberstdorf this afternoon. The starting time for that will be at 16:15. But that's all for now here from Eisenerz. Once again, thank you very much for tuning in. My name is Luis Holuch. I'm signing out. Bye bye.